Did you know in Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, a connection to Dwayne Johnson's football career is made? One of the young teen characters who gets sucked into the game is Fridge, an arrogant football player who becomes the character Franklin Mouse Finbar. Although Franklin is played by Kevin Hart, Fridge wears the number 94 football jersey and a matching number necklace which shares a connection with Kevin Hart's co-star Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. While playing football at the University of Miami, Johnson wore the same jersey number as Fridge does in the movie. Did you know in Inception, there's a number that keeps getting brought up throughout the film? The number that Fisher gives Arthur is 528491. The hotel rooms that are used are the rooms 528 and 491. Later, Eames gives Fisher the same number. The combination to the strong room starts with 52, and the combination to the safe is actually 528491. The importance of the number is continuously brought up, and the number is actually a prime number. The runtime for the film is also an interesting fact. The running time of the movie is exactly 8,888 seconds, and that translates to 2 hours and 28 minutes, which is a reference to the original length of Edith Piaf's song, Non, je ne regrette rien. The first recording of the song was 2 minutes and 28 seconds. Did you know in Silent Hill, there's an Easter egg in the beginning of the film while Rose runs through the tunnel trying to find Sharon. She calls out for Sharon, but on the wall behind her is graffiti that spells out the name Cheryl. This is actually the original name of Sharon's character from the video game. There's also an inside joke put into the film, as one of the stores is called Empty Rooms. This is a joke that refers to the fact that the film and games are filled with empty rooms that are merely facades to fill the world. The film also continues the tradition of having metal pipes as legitimate weapons, as this is the first weapon encountered in the Silent Hill games. Did you know in The Evil Dead, filming didn't go quite as they had hoped? Originally, the cast was supposed to be smoking weed while listening to the tape for the first time. They decided to do this for real, and they ended up having to reshoot the scene due to their uncontrollable behavior. The white contact lenses they had to wear were actually very painful, and they ended up covering half of the eye. They had to be taken out every 15 minutes to allow their eyes to breathe. Eventually, the film ran out of money, and only half of it was done by the winter of 1980. Sam Raimi, Rob Tappert, and Bruce Campbell ended up having to take out bank loans, borrow from friends and family, and make cold calls for things such as catering, gasoline, and other necessities. Did you know in Guardians of the Galaxy, Quill actually foreshadows Groot's fate at the end of the film? At around 23 minutes, the group enters the kiln, and Quill mentions Groot as the Giving Tree. The Giving Tree is a book from 1964 about a tree that gives itself to its human friend, and it sacrifices itself out of friendship and love. Luckily, Groot manages to be reborn as a sproutling version of himself. Did you know in Guardians of the Galaxy, the prison jumpsuits had a hidden detail on them? When we see the misfit Guardians of the Galaxy enter Kiln Prison, we see them placed in these yellow jumpsuits, except for Groot, of course. On each of their left legs is a slightly different stripe pattern, and the reason for the unique pattern is that each line represents a different crime the person has committed. It's not just the crimes listed, but also different colors which represent the different categories that each crime they were convicted for falls under. Did you know in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes? While Koba might have had a strong hatred for humans, he's actually the ape that seems the most human-like. He's even closer than Caesar is. He speaks English more fluently than the others, he's the first to make man-made weapons, and he's willing to kill his own members in order to pursue power and vengeance. If you like this, subscribe for more. Did you know in Transformers, 2 of the Decepticons are actually part of the Constructicons, which were Decepticons that took the form of construction vehicles and formed a bigger robot when joined? Bone Crusher and Devastator are the ones introduced in this film, although Devastator was originally called Brawl in the series and toys. Michael Bay stated that Devastator was more appropriate, so he cut the name in the film. Hasbro released merchandise with the original name Brawl. Did you know in Kong, Skull Island, the scene where John C. Reilly states, "It sounds like a bird, but it's a f***ing ant," was actually picked out of a bunch of outtakes where John was trying to get the cast and crew to laugh. He threw out multiple bizarre, outlandish imaginary monsters, and the director thought that this ant version fit the weird ecology. He even wanted to put the ant in a scene, but he decided against it due to budget constraints. Did you know in Beetlejuice, during the dinner party scene, Otho actually mentions that people who commit suicide end up being civil servants in the afterlife? The movie actually expands on this logic, and we can see it in the civil servants in the film. The receptionist states that she committed suicide. There's a man that ended up hanging himself. The crushed messenger even implies that he did it to himself somehow. While Juno appears to be normal, there are scars on her neck that hint to the idea that she cut her own throat at one point. Beetlejuice was mentioned to be a civil servant before going rogue, and it was going to be put in that he hung himself horribly due to a heartbreak. They cut this for running time purposes, but it is hinted at when he hears that Lydia wishes she could just die. Did you know in Halloween Ends, there was a tragic detail about this character's death? In the 2018 sequel to the 1978 film of the same name, Halloween, we see that one of the two characters to be killed by Michael Myers is Oscar Bellucci. At the beginning of Halloween Ends, we find out that Oscar's mother couldn't deal with the loss of her son, and is found to have killed herself by hanging. Eagle-eyed viewers would have noticed that she was wearing the same costume as her son was when he was murdered by the infamous killer. Did you know in Barbarian, there's a Hollywood Reporter expose on AJ, and it's written by someone named Kim Masters. This is actually the name of the real-life reporter who became known for breaking stories about men in the Hollywood industry who have been accused of sexual assault. One of the newer cases she worked on was the Harvey Weinstein cases. Also, the concept for the script was formed after Zach Kreger read the book titled The Gift of Fear. In the book, it encourages women to trust their intuition about being confronted by dangerous men. Did you know in Fall, different techniques were used to make the film feel real and more welcoming to the audience? The original dialogue had over 30 F-bombs, and Lionsgate used an AI dubbing system to alter the on-screen mouth movements to give the film its PG-13 rating. Originally, they considered using green screen or digital sets, but they decided to go for the real thing. They built the upper portion of the tower on a mountain, so the actors could feel like they were thousands of feet in the air. Did you know in You, there are actually a couple of references to the rock band Nirvana. In the pilot episode at Mooney's bookstore, Beck buys a copy of Desperate Characters, which is written by Paula Fox. Paula Fox is the grandmother of Courtney Love, who was married to Kurt Cobain. Later on, Beck can be seen wearing a Nirvana t-shirt. On top of that, the store next to Mooney's bookstore is called Nirvana. In Season 2, the LA grocery store that Joe works at is called an Averin, which is Nirvana spelled backwards. Did you know in Suspiria, there's an infamous scene where Olga's body twists and contorts in the dance hall mirrors? The contortion is done in such a way that it seems to be excruciating, but this was done with almost zero CGI. Elena Fokina was a trained contortionist and ballet dancer, and she also has hypermobility. She ended up performing all of these stunts herself. Mia Goth, on the other hand, spoke about the heavy prosthetics used to create her Undead Sarah character. According to Laboot, Mia actually became physically ill after handling her own fake intestines for the disemboweling scene. Did you know in The Hunger Games: Catching Fire, Jennifer Lawrence was left deaf in one ear for several months? For a franchise of movies that are filled with high-intensity action scenes, there's always a risk of injury, but more usually for the stunt team. However, this time around, it was leading lady Jennifer Lawrence who ended up temporarily deaf in one ear when one of the jets from the cornucopia scenes punctured her eardrum. Not only that, but all the diving and underwater scenes led her to getting a series of ear infections that couldn't have helped the pain she was already in. Did you know in the Black Panther Wakanda Forever trailer, we get a first glimpse at a new MCU character, Ironheart. We've yet to be introduced to Riri Williams, also known as Ironheart, but we know that she's not only getting her own TV series, but also making an appearance in the Black Panther sequel. In the trailer, we can see her creating her own suit and hammering out the heart in the suit, which is not only an indication of what's to come for her character, but it's also a parallel to the debut of the Iron Man film, in which Tony Stark creates his Iron Man suit. Did you know in Thor: Love and Thunder, we see what could be a crucial Easter egg for the upcoming Black Panther sequel? In the movie, we're introduced to Omnipotent City, the meeting place of all of the gods, and as such, we meet a couple of gods who may prove to be very crucial. Bast, the goddess of the Panther tribe in Wakanda, is sat next to a blue god with some form of Aztec headpiece, which could be a hint towards the upcoming movie Black Panther Wakanda Forever, which we know is introducing Namor, leader of an underwater tribe of Aztecs. Did you know in Pinocchio, there are some major differences between the animated classic and the live-action remake? In the animated version, it's implied that the movie takes place over quite some time, but in the live-action remake, all of the events take place in one day. Also in the animated classic, it's implied that Geppetto learned of Pinocchio being on Pleasure Island by Honest John or the local villagers. In the live-action, he finds out thanks to Sophia the Seagull, since Pinocchio doesn't run into the two crooks a second time. Did you know in Hellraiser 2022, Roland Voigt bears a strong resemblance to Frank Cotton and Dr. Philip Chenard from the first two Hellraiser films? He's manipulative and sadistic like Frank, and also regrets the services that the Cenobites provide. He also resembles Dr. Chenard by offering victims to the Cenobites to access the Hell Dimension. During the ending when he's transformed, the score echoes Christopher Young's leitmotif for Chenard.